Prepare yourself for the most powerful move in the history of chess. It's Magnus Carlsen's signature dish. It's pawn to h4. The Plough. You unleash the power of this cannon on h1 by ploughing that pawn down the board. It's one of the most overpowered openings. Give it a go. Magnus Carlsen's opponent goes pawn d5. She's a WFM, weaker than Magnus. Her name's Suyana Lahani, but still this is epic. What an attack. 25 move, king crush. This is titled Tuesday, 25th of June. Fasten your seatbelts. Magnus goes pawn e3. We get knight f6. Does he develop any minor pieces? No. c4 played, the most explosive move. e6 covers the center here, and now I love this. What does Magnus do? He keeps going with the pawn army. It's Prawnageddon. They're coming down like space invaders. c5 is played and he just continues. Who needs pieces when you've got pawns? g5 on the board, banging on the door. The knight meekly retreats. Magnus now plays his sixth pawn move in 6 moves, throwing the opening principles out the window, and finally he develops a minor piece. The sniper hits the center. They say knights before bishops. Not this game. Knight b6 now best, but knight e5 played instead, opening the queen, looking for knight d3, so of course Magnus goes pawn d4. We get captures, pawn recaptures, more pawn moves, only one bishop developed. Now we get check from black. Magnus blocks with the knight, and foraying forth into the c4 square is most precise, but we see knight e to c6 instead. Sits on the toes of the other knight as it tries to develop. Magnus now brings his knight into the game. We get castles, and does he move any more minor pieces or do something over here? Hell no. He picks up the pawn and ploughs it down the board. Look at those foot soldiers covering all the squares. What an opening variation. Give it a go. Let me know how you like it. We get rook e8 played. Very natural. Does Magnus do anything to block his king? Course he doesn't. g6, he's banging down the door here, crashing through to the king, and now a good move by black. We get bishop g4. Counterplay against the knight on e2. Magnus takes with check, luring the king out. Now we get bishop e3, doing something about the deadly rook attack on that knight, and knight e7 played. Good move. Opening c6 for the second knight to develop, also covering the center. Magnus goes queen b3, hits the unprotected bishop, intensifies the pressure. Black developing a knight, covers the bishop, good move, and now best here is an immediate knight f4. Magnus, however, steps to f1, coming off that open e-file, the center hugely under fire, and best here is bishop takes on c3. Eliminate one of those knights, but not played. The very natural king g8 on the board, but it's given the blunder question marks by chess.com, because now d5 can legitimately collapse, but Magnus doesn't do it. There is pressure on d4. This one here can be taken with check. So instead, first, he goes knight f4, coming out of the way of that bishop, eyeing d5 some more. Again, the bishop should take on c3, but not played. We get knight f5 here, attacking those pawns, and it allows Magnus to unleash a combination. Again, black should have been taken on c3. It was the way to go. Instead, we see Magnus crash through on d5 with check. It's given a miss because taking with the knight was preferred by Stock Squid, but this one's still good. The king sidestepping, and Magnus now finds a brilliant move. And by the way, if you're wondering why I'm not covering the Super Bet Chess Classic round 2, well, it's because I'm currently at the pub, probably while you're watching this. Monthly pub quiz, end of the month. I'm afraid I couldn't get a video up Thursday evening, had to pre-record this, but still it's a belter here. What does Magnus play in this position? Well done if you found. Knight g6 check, brilliant move. Sacrificing, taking with the pawn is forced. The king had no squares. This one recaptures, opens the cannon. What an opening variation this is. Sure, black played obligingly, but what an attack. Knight h4 now played. If you go to h6, the bishop was capturing. You're crashing through. And now best is taking off this knight. but not played. Magnus now goes for knight to e4. He's looking for bishop g5 stuff, as we'll see, but it allows black to go bishop e7. And actually the attack is not so clear. Black has counterplay too, but it was missed. Bishop f3 played with a double attack on knight and rook in the corner. Magnus carries on with his bishop g5 plan, and the lines here are amazing. Magnus hasn't executed the attack in the right way, and now black should take on h1 here. Yes, white can win the queen, which is the threat that was being executed, but then there's this check. And if you go to e2 with the king, you walk here with a check, winning the queen. If you come to g1, same idea, and look at the danger now. Queen moves, it was attacked, and the king has no squares. It's mated by the minor pieces. You have to give up the queen. What a line. The only way for white to stay in the game at this position here, after bishop takes on h1, is go queen g3. Don't touch the queen. Carry on the attack, but still it gets weird after bishop g2. None of it played, because instead of taking here, we see the very bizarre move, a bit hard to explain, of queen takes on d5. Terrible move, giving that queen, and now the rook crashes through with check. The king sidesteps, this one takes with check, and we see resignation. King here, and that is going to be a checkmate. Yes, Magnus outclassed his opponent, but what a system. Love to see him back playing it. And if you want to see the original game where he played this system against Ali Reza Firouzja, then check out the video on screen. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you soon.